Cal State East Bay with a master's degree in math and in science. After completing his studies, he began working at the college and was offered a permanent position upon graduation. Thanks to Richard remained dedicated to his work at Cal State until his retirement in March 2017. Richard was a member of AA at the Hayward Fellowship for 35 years and the Men's Cartel since 2019. He would have celebrated 40 years of sobriety this coming June 25th. Let's give him a round of applause. In 2015, Richard met Judy. After a brief courtship, the two married on December 11th of 2015. They were a perfect match and shared a life full of love and companionship. A lifelong Raiders fan, Richard held season tickets for 25 years, which eventually inspired him to move to Las Vegas. He also had a deep passion for live music. His love for concerts began when his father took him to see the Beatles at age 13. Now, over the years, he became a devoted fan of blues music, counting artists like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Samantha Fish, Mike Zito, and Walter Trout among his favorites. In 2021, Richard was diagnosed with a rare and little-known disease, progressive supranuclear palsy, PSP, which is a rare brain disease that affects movement, balance, and thinking. It's a type of frontal temporal disorder and is part of a group of conditions called atypical Parkinsonism. He faces illness with incredible strength and resilience. And after a brave 3-year battle, he passed away on December 23rd of last year. Surrounded by love, with Judy holding him close, I had the honor and privilege of being there right next to his side as well. His passing was a moment etched in the hearts of everyone in this room and all who loved him. Now, we're gonna go ahead and get into sharing here, guys. We'll go ahead and do it in a tagged format. Hopefully we can get as many people up here as possible. If you have to leave at any time, we understand. This will probably go on for some time since we all know alcoholics. But we'll try to end the sharing and play it by ear. We gotta cut you off, sorry. We'll play the music. Again, on behalf of Richard's family and his program friends, we would now like to invite family members or friends to share their feelings or personal memories of Richard with us. Please put your hands together for Judy.
Thank you, everybody that has shown up to honor Richard. I am overwhelmed at the turnout. Just beautiful. So I knew I couldn't get up here and just talk. I got to do that one-on-one. Okay, first off, I want to thank the man that came to my rescue for planning this gathering in Richard's honor. You gentlemen gave him purpose. Richard never really mentioned he needed to log on and be first, but I figured that out soon. Richard gauged his day by what time he needed to get on. First of all, the cartel at 11:55 sharp. Then again at 6:40 for the COVID meeting. I still think God presumed. The only other reminder he set with Alexa was 4 p.m. for the Family Feud. That was our day. We used to play Scrabble and cribbage, but when Richard lost his vision, we could no longer play games that needed eyesight. I love that you call him King Richard. I love that you made him matter. He felt the love and respect and patience you showed him. I want to give Justin a special shout out for traveling to us on Mondays. Justin picked him up, wheelchair and all, got him to the live noon cartel meeting, From Summerlin to South Henderson, back to the Jackpot, back to South Henderson, and then back to his destination would take practically a whole day. And service and friendship was at its finest. Justin says the ride was often therapeutic. He could run issues by Richard and get his take on things. In the short 6 years we have been in Nevada, we somehow managed to get in the middle of the herd. We formed relationships and friendships inside and outside the rooms that amazed us both. Most of the closest friends were made out of a virus that shut down all the meetings. Who knew that Zoom would come along and change who we saw and sat by in meetings? Webster's does not have enough words to describe my husband. God knew what he was doing when he put us together. Richard and I became friends at a Thursday night 6:30 speaker meeting in Pleasanton, California. After the meeting, Richard would talk about blues music and concerts and Samantha Fish, and I would say, I want to go to a concert. And he would soon call and ask me to go to a concert. And then it was the Raiders, and I would say, I want to go to a Raider game. And then he would ask me to go to a game. And so it began, and I could tell our love story like it was yesterday. We celebrated our 9-year anniversary in the hospital December 11th. Huh? I didn't hear it.
It was Richard.
We never missed a day of expressing our love for each other, and I can only remember one fight, and that was early on before we were married. I used to be a brat. Before I close and welcome you to share with us, I'll try to sum up what Richard was to me. He was thoughtful, grateful, kind, and gentle. He was considerate, generous, forgiving, and intelligent. He was soft-spoken, likable, trusting, and trustworthy. He was clean, not like an addict. I mean, he took a shower every day. And what else? Richard was honest, disciplined, a good friend, a good sponsor, and a better husband than I could have dreamed of. And I'm lucky that he made me his first wife. And this is to my dear Richard. I know your spirit is here with us today. I know you can hear us. You are a man to be honored. Our home is missing an integral piece. My heart will never be the same. Things are so different. You were and always will be the most important man of my life. You changed me and I changed you, and we learned to meet in the middle. The love I have with you will never die, and I love to remember that it is by dying that one awakens to eternal life. Amen. And this morning, getting ready to come here, my son was shedding tears, and I said, you're thinking of your dad, aren't you? So my ex-husband, Doug, John's dad, passed away on January 9th of 2024. So I said to John, your daddy didn't get to have a memorial. I want you to go in there and grab his ashes, and we're going to print a picture of your dad, and we're going to all say a prayer for Doug. And may his transition have been peaceful. And I took Richard to meet Doug. I took him to the house I grew up in, and they liked one another right away, and that was very special. So enough out of me. Anyone who'd like to share, come up and share. And thank you all for coming. It's an amazing group of friends. Well, I could have.
Careful. You're still there. Still caught. You okay?
Call somebody up.
Won't do, Justin.
Great job.
Yeah, Justin.
We're gonna do popcorn method. So as soon as we get the first person up here to share, you call on somebody else. Mr. Becker can start us off. How about that, buddy? Come on. I'm hoping they can hear us well on Zoom. You can hear us well on Zoom, everybody? Yeah, awesome. Good. There you go.
Wow, we have a lot of people here. My name is Scott. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Scott.
Hi, y'all. You're missing some good food here. I hope you're cooking some at home. Judy, that was just so wonderful. You know, Richard was just one of the sweetest men. I mean, that guy never had anything but sweetness come out of his mouth that I ever heard. And I mean, the guy looked like he was in severe pain, and he would say, "I am so lucky." I was like, wow, you know, what an example, you know. I could do a lot of things, but I'm not sure if I would be grateful if I was in that position. I guess I'd have to wait to see. And I might be able to now since I have the example of Richard, you know. And I love Alcoholics Anonymous. We're all lucky alcoholics. I remember when people used to complain about that, and I thought, it's a lot better than the streets. You're up next. Come on.
Thanks, Scotty.
Hi guys, I'm Justin.
Hi, Justin.
Alcoholic.
Don't forget.
Yeah. Lionel, thank you, wherever you're at. Thank you so much for this, and thank you, all of you guys. Throughout these last few months, it's been amazing for me to watch all of the support for everybody, from everybody for Richard. So a couple of years ago, I took a casual suggestion from my sponsor, one of those casual AA suggestions, and he asked me, maybe check and see if Richard could use a ride to the live meeting, once a week or something, and I took that suggestion, and that was one of the better suggestions I think I've ever taken. One thing I remember when Richard was still able to share, he would always start off his share by saying how lucky he was. He's grateful and lucky to be here. He would say, "Oh boy, am I lucky," And sometimes I would pick him up and I'd ask him how I was doing, and he'd be honest. He'd say, "It kind of sucks today." And you're right. I would be able to run stuff by him, taking a friend to a meeting, we're just hanging out. We had a nice long car ride going to the meeting to just to chop it up. I would run problems, issues of mine, relationship stuff, money stuff, with you too, getting to know you, and John also. John, thank you so much for everything that you did and have done as well. I got to witness that too. But, also, it's just for me, it's been really, really cool to see how this group of people has come together. Not just today, but over the last few months. It's been really, really cool to watch. And thank you for allowing me to be a part of your guys' lives. You guys are really, really cool people, and I'm really glad to have you guys in my life. So thank you. And I would like to hear from the guy who gave me the suggestion to pick up Richard for the meetings.
How you guys doing? My name's Tony. I'm an alcoholic. Oh man, this is. I absolutely loved Richard. And Judy even said it. He prided himself to get on at 11:55, and I prided myself at the times to get on at noon. And there was times where I would challenge him and get on there before him, and that wasn't very often. I would always ask Richard how he was doing, or "What's up, Richard?" and he would say "you," and it would always be about me when I was talking to him. I got the pleasure to have met him, and I don't know, I absolutely loved that man. He was, even towards the bitter end, he was just very spiritual. And he would hang out after the meetings on the cartel and towards the end where he couldn't talk or anything like that, but he would hang out until everybody was off. So he was the first one there and the last one to leave. And what an example for me. I mean, I live in Southern California, guys, and I've seen this man on Zoom, and I got to make this trip up here. I get emotional because I've been to a lot of funerals. I've been in the program for a little over 5 years, and I've been to more funerals than anything, good or bad. And this one's a good one. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's missed. But there's a lot of people that don't make it back. And how blessed are we to be sitting here celebrating a man who has 39 years, who passed away onto the other side, like Judy said. We are beyond blessed, and thank you a lot for letting me share. Anybody want to share?
I want to share.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to. It's hard to imagine. My name's Hammond. I am an alcoholic. And I used to ride around with him and Judy, and we went to a lot of stuff. But the one thing that you could see from him was he really loved AA. He never, ever said a negative word about AA. And I always like to talk negative, and I'm always a mooch. He'd give me a ride home from different workshops. But the love, especially now that he's passed, he never said a negative word. And he said to me, I said, why are you coming to cartel? We're just yelling, screaming. I don't know. And he said, it made him feel like he was at a Raiders game. He said, I came to live here. I never knew I would find cartel. So I love it. I just want to, Judy, thanks so much, and everybody who catch the spirit of what a cartel is and what he brought to it. Love, love, and more love. So who else would like to share? Thank you.
Willie.
Jimbo's coming.
Oh, no, we got somebody. Never mind. I'm sorry.
Got Jimbo from California.
My name's Jimbo, and I'm an alcoholic. And when I first met Richard about 18 years ago, I can tell you this, I did not like him. And wherever I showed up, a meeting, some kind of event we'd have going on, picnics, barbecues, no matter where I showed up, Richard was always there. The poker games. And one time I had a good friend of both of ours. He says, why do you always pick on Richard? I said, because I don't like him. He said, do you ever think maybe it's you? And it was. Richard became a good friend because he showed up wherever I showed up, and he was an alcoholic. And I know a few of the gentlemen that he sponsored, and I mean, I'm not lying. Wherever I showed up, Richard was always there. So, I got to know him. And he was a pretty cool dude. I spent a lot of time with him at picnics and Raider game, A's game. I mean, I was fortunate enough to do a lot of things with him and hang out with him because he hung out with the same people I did. And I'll tell you what, when I got it on my text that Richard passed, man, I was crushed. But the one thing I do remember, that the last time I seen him, me and Carl went over to his house. We knocked on the door, and a lady opened up the door. And before I could say anything, I guess he could see me, and he said, "Jimbo's here." And you know what? I'm gonna hold on to that because he was a dear friend, and I had compassion for him. I seen him a few times when he wasn't looking good. So I took the opportunity when Carl said, "Let's go see Richard," and I said, "Yeah." And And when I talked to Carl, he says, last time, how'd you look? I go, not too good, man. So, you know, I was fortunate enough to go make that trip, and we went and seen him and hung out with him for a while. And Judy, my heart goes out for you. I love you. And Richard, I love you. And his famous one was, it's easier to stay stopped than it is to get stopped.
I want somebody to come up.
Dorian.
Get up there, girl. Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Up, can't hear you.
I know, I'm sorry. Sorry, I was waving at everybody in the room. Hi, everybody. I'm Dorian. I'm an alcoholic. Hi, Dorian. I got the opportunity. I didn't have a long enough time to be able to spend with Richard, but the almost 4 years that I did know him, he made me feel so incredibly welcome and special. And when I had my first slip up, I'll just never forget this because it was so incredibly sincere. It was almost guttural. Him and Judy were in the car. I didn't know the speakerphone was on. And I said, Judy, I drank. And I heard Richard, as Judy told me, he covered up his face with his hands later saying, oh no. And it just, I've never ever let that leave me. He was just so special, like everybody says, and he never had a negative word to say, just like you say. And he was the gentlest person, and I am so happy that I was able to have conversations with Richard when I first met him. And what hurt me so much later was that, you know, he would hear us all talking, and he wanted so much to interject and be part of that conversation, and he just wasn't able to do that. But he could say a lot with his eyes, and you could almost understand him half the time. And I'm not saying this because of course I'm proud of myself today, but Richard would be really, really happy for me today because after almost 4 years, I'm celebrating my first birthday today. And in my other few slip-ups, he made a big difference in my life. And I wish he was here right now so that I could, but I'll talk to him later. Because my aha moment only hit me a week and a half ago. And I just can't believe the difference in myself. And I want to thank Richard for that as well, because he was always willing to help everybody. So thank you very much. And let's see. Is Mikey still here? Come on up, buddy. It's all right, we'll wait. We don't mind.
Take us out, Mike.
Oh boy. My name's Michael. I'm an alcoholic. I met Richard in Pulp Fiction, if you remember, Judy, when you guys first came down from Oakland and the Monday night meeting, and you were sitting there with Richard. And to me, he looked like a rough guy, hard to approach, you know, because he would just look at me and stare at me and look at me, and I was like, oh, this guy, you know, he's from Oakland. I thought he was a biker, and I'm thinking, oh, how do I approach this guy? And then I started to talk to him. He used to break chops. And I got a loud way of breaking chops. He had a little quiet way of breaking chops. And then we started talking, and I invited him to the cartel, which he always gave me credit to invite him to the cartel. I said, you belong in the cartel with us guys, you know? And that was nice that he always would make me feel good that he would tell Donnie that I invited him to the cartel, you know, and then all of a sudden he got sick, and, you know, and it was like, wow. And, you know, I see my dad get sick, and my dad never broke a sweat. and I seen Rich never break a sweat. Like this guy would show up in a wheelchair with tubes in him, talk about a dedication day, hey, never complain. Man, I'm going through some shit now. I'm complaining to Donnie all the way here in the truck. You know what I mean? Donnie's ready to put me in a fucking Uber. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, so you know, he never complained. You know, I see him on that meeting. It bothered me. It bothered me because, you know, I watched my dad, and then sometimes when I would see him, I always think back to my dad at the end too. But he you know, and then it's funny about Las Vegas. I come from New York, and Las Vegas is what a warm place. I was telling Scott before, me and Scott been friends 35 years, and I remember him taking care of watching my kids for me. And the way to turn out in Vegas, you guys have a big contingent in Oakland, and how Vegas is so warm, and we all have our little differences. You know, everybody's full of shit in AA. We all have our little differences in AA. Or we all say this about, like Willie might say something about me, but he won't let nobody else say something about me. Or I might say something about Scott, but I won't let nobody else say nothing about Scott. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, you know, I don't know if I'm getting to you guys. I know you think, but I know what goes on here. You know, I've been here a long time, but we all look out for each other. You know what I mean? We got a great crew of guys. The cartel's a great contingent of people. It's good, you know, I mean, we're blessed to see this guy. And Judy, I think about all the time what you did for Richard, and how you were put in his life, and how you never broke a sweat either. Like, I see Judy getting him out of that car. Hey, this is some woman. Oh my God. I hope I find a woman like this. And what happened? Willie, me and you are in trouble here. Me, you, and Scott. We ain't got nobody. We better start searching. You know what I mean? This girl took care of this guy. Like, forget about it. You know what I understand? You're in good shape right now. You know what I mean? I'm looking at Donnie. Me, you, Willie, Scott. We're in the same boat. We ain't got nobody. Forget about it. You know, we run them off, Donnie. We run them off. Forget about it. So anyway, have a few laughs at your expense, Richard. I'm a giant fan of your Oakland fan. I love all you guys. It's so good to see everybody. God bless you, Judy. God bless you all.
Thank you.
What? I'm calling on O'Shea, my best buddy. Listen to me all the way here. Hey, Irish bastard.
Forget about it. Forget about it.
All right, so look at this. Look at the. You know, I'm living proof to believe about Richard's judgment before he picked her. And because he liked Michael, my brother, right? He raved about Michael all day and night. But I got just one thing I want to share. We did a little trip. We went to a baseball game, right? And I knew it was a setup because it was tranny weekend in San Francisco. Now Richard's off the hook because I met his wife. But everyone else in that picture, I don't know about yet, still. What a crowd, what a group. The AA is nothing but love, and you're one good, great woman. Thank you, Judy, for... Here, I'll shut up. I keep saying I'll shut up after this. Nicest man on planet Earth. But he give me that look every time I'd start popping off. That was it, and I wasn't playing it. That's all I had for, and Richie shut me down like nobody ever could. Because he scared me, Michael. Where'd he go? Yeah, he scared me too. But that's it. Who wants to talk? Any of his friends from that Hayward club up there? Left, please. Because he talks about you guys all the time.
Renee?
Hey, when you get up here to share, the Zoom users, we got about 40 people listening in and watching. Just speak into the mic so they can hear you.
Can you hear me? Is that better?
Get close.
I'm Jennifer, I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Jennifer.
And I've known Richard a long time. And I know him, we would go to the Castro Valley, 7 p.m. Transfiguration Church meeting every Sunday. You know those people in AA who have their chair, like it's their chair, and everybody knows it's their chair? He had that chair in the corner, right in the front, and he's always there. And he loved the Raiders, and he loved AA. He loved Judy,
and he loved seeing people grow. Every time I saw him, because I met him before I was married, before I had 3 kids, right? And he loved seeing us grow as a sober family. He really loved it. And for a long time, he's had his circle happening in Vegas, and I've been busy with my circle, but the love's always there. I'm so grateful I got to see him at the Kennel Club that day. And we weren't sure if he was going to recognize, right? His eyesight was going, and I put my face right in his face. And I was like, she goes, do you know who that is? He goes, that's Jennifer. I was like, so gratitude. I had so much gratitude that he knew who I was. And I just felt the love, a lot of love. And I haven't seen him a lot lately, but the love is still there, and I'll still miss him. And I knew him before he was gentle, and I knew him before he was always kind, and I knew him before he was always positive, right? And that's a blessing of this program, is that we get to continue to grow, right? And get better, and we're not ever perfect, but maybe that's when it was time for him to go, because he was so perfect. So, yeah, I got to see, he showed me a picture of back in his drinking days. And it's him holding a beer, because you know, when we're drinking, all of our pictures have us with a bottle or a glass of something. And he looked the same age as he looked last year. And he was like 30 or something like that in the picture. And he looked like he was 65, you know? And I was just like, holy crap. Like, that's the blessing of this program, is, right? Just drove by some people today on the way here, and like somebody said, I think it was my husband, said, wow, she looks old. I said, she's probably younger than I am, right? So I'm grateful to be here, and I have to remember that, right? What I'm hearing people say is that I'm lucky that every single day since I got sober, I'm lucky, because I didn't get hit by the train. And yeah, and it's easier to get stopped to stay stopped than to get stopped. I never had to find out that lesson, thank God. So thanks for listening. Thank you.
My name's Rex, and I am an alcoholic. I've known Richard for somewhere around 23 years. I am a product of the Hayward Fellowship, and that's where I got sober. He's the person that got me into a service, and he would nominate me, and I would hit that. And we did a lot of service together. I knew Richard as Dick Uhler, Dick U. And he was called that because, you know, he was ornery, and that's, you know, he wasn't always the person you knew. When I first met Dick, he came back from a little hiatus, so he didn't go out and drink. But he stayed away from the Hayward Fellowship because he was selling dope on the side. And he came in, and that's one of the things that he had to get right with. And he did that, and he would talk about that a lot in AA meetings. And man, he made it easy to be in rooms about Alcoholics Anonymous. Me and my family moved here in 2018, and Dick and Judy came here right after that. And he sponsored me for a couple of years. Man, he was a great man. I will cherish all the time that I spent with him. And thank you.
Thank you.
Carrie, you're up next. Yeah, you?
Carrie.
My name's Kerry. I'm alcoholic.
Thank you for all of this. It is a great crowd, and actually, I was never intimidated by Richard. I'm used to people like him that look like him. I was up in the Bay Area quite a few times. I was born right outside of San Francisco. When I go there, I like to go into the darkest, deepest, baddest areas, so I know how dangerous it is, and then I feel better when I come home where it's safe. Like a lot of us here, I met Richard through the Zoom meeting, and he had that look like, he was weathered and worn, but he definitely, when he spoke, and he didn't share a lot, and when he did, it was, in and out. 1 minute, 2 minutes was a long share. Very humble man. And, the Zoom meeting was a lifeline for a lot of us. I was part of the cartel before the Zoom, and then once the Zoom started, I was like, wow, this is new. And I'm not the guy with a laptop. All I had was my little phone, so I'm smoking my cigar, looking at these guys about 1/4 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch. But it saved my life during those times. I don't want to say saved my life. It really held me on to what AA is all about. And then when the things started breaking down, when the pandemic slowed down and people were starting to get back out living life again, and we started, I think we went to, somebody in the Zoom celebrated, I think it was, who was our opera singer? John. And we all got over to David Powell's house for the first official post-pandemic meeting. And Richard was there, so we got the face-to-face and all the guys that we all know and love today. And Richard was just as mellow as he was on the Zoom. The guy wasn't, was no flash. He was just a good-looking, mellow dude to me. I really appreciate people like that, especially in long-term sobriety. It makes me realize what I need to strive for. I remember once Fletch came down from San Francisco, and he called me up and he says, hey, me and Richard want to go out and, kind of hang out and do a Zoom meeting outside in the air. I said, oh, and me being a local here in Vegas, he said, they were all out in Henderson. We'll go to Sunset Station, or not Sunset, Sunset Park. So the three of us got there in the park. We had our little lawn chairs, and we hung out for about 3 hours in the park. 45 minutes of it was the meeting. And I got to know Richard on a more face-to-face, and he was definitely laid back. And got to meet Judy through certain meetings. I also drop in on the Pulp Fiction occasionally, and I've always seen Richard. And I got to commend Justin bringing Richard into the cartel a lot. You're a stronger man than I am. I mean, you were always doing that for that man, and that's impressive. And you kept Richard a part of what we are, and seeing Richard in his state at that time showed me, oh my goodness, this guy is the real deal. And he truly loved AA. And knowing him has been a blessing in my life, and I'm going to miss him. And I look forward to seeing you more often, Judy, at other meetings as well. And I too am a Raider fan. I didn't jump on no bandwagon. I grew up an Oakland Raider fan. None of that 49er bullshit. Thank you.
somebody?
I thought Renee.
Oh, you're right, Renee.
I'm Renee, I'm an alcoholic. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I met Richard in early sobriety. I used to live in the Bay Area, and I moved to the day after that earthquake, the big giant earthquake. I moved out of my hometown in with my boyfriend, and he lived right around the corner from the Hayward Fellowship. So I started going there, and I was only a couple years sober. And Richard was always I don't know, even when he was younger, he was the godfather of the Hayward Fellowship. You know, he kind of, always there and in back, and he hung out with this guy named Randy, and, they just made everybody feel like welcome. And, in early sobriety, you have your little groups of people, and we used to go do things and dances and all that stuff. And one time we went on this camping trip, and I was getting ready to tell Judy the story when I came in, but we were just as friends. We all went water skiing Lake Tulloch, and it was night, and we were all looking at the stars, just kind of laying there around the campfire. And then all of a sudden, Richard started just talking about the constellations in the sky, and he must have talked for 45 minutes, and he just he was like this lifelong student. I mean, I didn't think he'd ever get a degree, because he was at the Hayward State for years and years and years and years, and he was just like this perpetual student, and we're like, are you ever going to fucking graduate? You know what I mean? And then finally he did graduate, and then he went to work for the same place. So he loved school, and he loved teaching other people. He loved sharing his knowledge. He was never ostentatious at all about his education, and he just wanted to share it with everybody. And that's the part of, when they moved here, I had already been here for years and years, and years and years. I've been here 15 years now, but I didn't get to spend a lot of time with him when he was here. And same thing. I had my stuff going on, and he had his stuff going on, and I feel bad about that, because but I have the early Richard memories, and I will never forget them. And he really was a great guy. And I also knew him as Dick. It was never Richard, and so it was always awkward calling. Dick Uhler that was his name. It was Dick Uhler, damn it. So anyway, he was not like a couple other people said. He was not always. I'll just tell one more funny story, if that's all right. There was this little guy named Richard, and he was a roofer, and he used to hang out at the Hayward Fellowship, and he came marching in one day, right? And he looks at Richard, Dick, and he goes, Dick Uhler? he goes, I hear you've been talking shit about me. And Richard's just like in the back, like looking like this. He goes, of course I've been talking shit about you. Look at the way you've been acting. And it was like the funniest thing I ever heard. I mean, he was just like, so yeah, he was not always the nice guy, but he's grown a lot, and and I will miss him, even though I haven't been seeing him. And you were just the trooper through the whole end of that, and I hope we do see you around some more, and I love you guys.
Thank you, Renee.
Hi everybody, my name is Tom, and I'm an alcoholic. And I'd like to thank Lionel for extending the facility for us to get together, and Lionel and Judith for putting this thing on and giving us an opportunity to pay our respects to a wonderful example of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm a little bit emotional. I know this is a celebration of life, and this is really a great celebration. There's no doom and gloom here. There's a little bit of sadness, but there's no doom and gloom here. And I'm going to tell you that I'm coming up on my third cake at the cartel. Not my third year sober, just my third cake at the cartel. And when I met Richard, he had already been ill. I never knew Richard on Zoom. I didn't know Richard. When I met Richard, he was already in a walker. And then little by little, I found out that he caught this disease during COVID, and he got real sick. And then I found out a little bit more that he had this neurological condition. And 3 years ago, in March, it'll be 3 years ago that I retired from working in aerospace after 42 years. And I retired because my wife got sick. And my wife has a neurological disease too. And it's a degenerative brain disorder. And so I can't imagine. Here's the thing, my wife doesn't have a program like Richard has. And Richard, to watch what was going through the last couple of years, I know one thing I've learned in AA, that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And I have to buy a ticket to suffer. And Richard did not suffer. Sometimes I wish my wife had a program, you know? Sometimes I wish I had a goddamn program. Watching Judith, you know, I think I was told if you die and you die sober, you're a winner. And if I'm not mistaken, Richard passed away the day after the Raiders won their last freaking game against the Florida team. And I think if anything Richard suffered, it was through this Raider season more than any goddamn thing. And I suffered with him, right? We suffered together. And I think that the real champion is Judith. Through thick and thin, 24/7. That's how we do it. That's how we do sobriety. On good days and bad days, 24/7. We just don't drink or use no matter what. And when we stay sober long enough, there comes some responsibilities along with that. And our responsibilities are to those around us, to be kind, loving, patient, tolerant, all that stuff that they talk about. And Richard and Judith has taught me in the short amount of time that I've gotten to know these guys. They've taught me how I'm supposed to act. Because my thinking isn't always there, but it's my actions that are important to me. Because I don't go to jail for my thinking, I go to jail for my actions. And it's important, just like Justin over there, the actions that are taken is what determines what's going to happen, right? And so it's an honor and a privilege to be able to pay respects. It's an honor and a privilege to see this outpouring. There's people here from all over the place, from Northern California. There's people on Zoom from I don't know where the hell. There's people from all over. And it's just a wonderful testament to the person, the family, and the family in AA. I want to thank you guys. I appreciate you all being here. Thanks.
I'm Jim, and I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, and I was moved up here. You know, Tom and I were talking a little bit before the meeting, you know, about how difficult it is to be a caregiver. And you know, something I have a little experience with. Tom talked a little bit about it, and just wanted to say to Judy, you know, I know how difficult that can be, even with somebody you love very much. You know, and I knew Richard primarily from our Zoom meeting, our men's COVID Zoom meeting, you know, but when I had a Monday off, I'd go down to the live cartel meeting, and I'd see Richard there, and I always made a point of, hey Richard, how are you? And you know, no matter, his eyes would light up, you know, and he made me feel special to be there. He genuinely, you know, even when he wasn't able to really talk very well or anything, you know, he let me know just by the look in his eyes that he was glad to see me, you know, and that meant a lot. And, you know, I was talking about being a caregiver and how difficult that can be, but, you know, the flip side of that is it's a blessing for those of us who get an opportunity to do it. We get to do, you know, the ultimate service to somebody we love, you know. So I guess my message is, you know, everything happens to everybody. If you haven't been in that situation on one side of that or the other, you probably will be at some point in your life, you know. And Richard and Judy gave us the perfect example of how to go through that, both as a caregiver and how to accept care and accept love. You know, let people like Dustin become a stronger, better person by being of service, you know. And when your moment comes, you know, give us the privilege of taking care of you. You know, that is being of service to another member of Alcoholics Anonymous or your family or your community. And, you know, Richard touched a lot of lives, so the guy I'm going to call on is somebody who never had an opportunity to meet Richard in person, and he's here from Montana. So, yeah, Derek, why don't you come on and say hello?
I'll get you for that one, Jim. Derek, alcoholic. Good to see everybody. I didn't get to meet Richard, but when I first got into this program, I was told that 90 meetings in 90 days was the deal. And Donnie O'Shea had bet on that I wouldn't stay sober, so I'm like, I'm gonna show that fucking guy. But I would get on, and it's been talked about already, but I would get on, and I'd get on real early, and Richard would be on there. And I'd say, oh, Richard, how you doing? Oh, you made it, he said. And I'm like, yeah, I did, buddy, I made it. Okay, I was wondering. You know, but, you know, I saw Richard and through his suffering, Judy, that he went through, and just the fact that he would show up, you know, and be there for all of us, you know, and even in the end when he couldn't share, just the fact that you would get on and Richard was there. And boy, I'll tell you what, I catch myself a lot just complaining about how tough my life is. And then you meet somebody like Richard, you know, and it's like, I don't have it bad at all. But when I landed, I went from Helena, Montana, Salt Lake this morning, and it's Salt Lake here, but when I landed in Salt Lake, Richard came through my mind because as we landed the plane, it was easier to stay stopped than get stopped. Because it was snowing pretty bad, and I laughed because I'm like, that's what Richard would say. But no, I'm truly honored to be here and see so many good faces that I'm used to seeing on a little Zoom screen, but Judy, it was good to meet you, and God bless you, and keep going from here. Thank you. Who do I call? Andy I was going to call on Andy, but...
Sarah will call on Andy.
It's my sister. Don't slip on that.
I'm hobbling up here. Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Sarah.
I'm Judy's baby sister. I don't like public speaking, but Richard deserves an attempt at it. 15 years ago or so, me and Judy and my sister Sue all have gone through our addiction, and at the time that I brought Judy back into our lives, Sue was the one struggling the most. I was lying, so I wasn't bad. But I dragged Judy's ass to Castro Valley, and I said, now you're going to take care of her. Now, I need you to make her go to work, and you take care of her. And Judy's like, I was bitching at her about her ways, and she said, what am I supposed to do? And I said, well, there's one thing you can do. Mind you, I've been in AA for 15 years, and I have 4.5. So I said, there's one thing you can do, and you're going to do it, or I'm not going to give you a $20 bill to go, with your friends. And I said, you're going to AA, because it's free, and it's fun. And she went along. She would go along with anybody, and I'm not talking bad things. I'm saying Judy was always game for anything, really. So we tried NA. That was kind of weird. It was weird for me, too. And she came to me on my 3-month chip, my first 3-month chip. I think I have about 40 of them. And she cried out with the people, which this is an amazing group. How amazing, all friends. So loud, everybody knows each other, and if you don't, you're comfortable, right? Because we're kind of sick together, but she sobbed out in that, watching me get my 90-day chip and not be embarrassed. And I took her to a couple more meetings, and when I could go. I was working. And then I took her, she said I didn't need to pick her up and give her a ride home. I'm like, oh, okay, she made a friend, good, I don't have to pick her up. And then she said she was at lunch with Darlene. I'm like, Darlene from Tri-Valley? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, she said, they're paying my way. And I'm like, what? We don't go with AA people, we just go to those meetings, we don't make friends. And it's like, shit, Judy was in the middle of the herd in week 4. And seriously, she knows everybody and everybody loved Judy and she brought so much joy, but that's where she met Richard. So, first I'm hearing about friends and she's going these places and I'm so relieved I'm getting my sister back and she likes it. I'm drinking, but she's not. And then she started talking about this guy and I think she said she was at a Raider game. I said, what? And she said, I got invited to a Raider game. I'm like, with who? She was just this guy from the meetings, just a friend. And I'm like, wow, well, we'll see how truthful she's being, but. Then she was somewhere else with this friend, and then this friend helped her move, and then at some point she said, you know what, I've decided, I'm going to sleep with my friend Richard. And I said, she said, because he is perfect for me. He is just what I need. We get along. I have fun with him. They were going to concerts, they were being friends, and then they were, I think she moved in with him a month later, and then I went to meet her in San Leandro, and she said, come in here, I'm doing my makeup. And I said, what room is this? And she said, oh, Richard gave me this room to do my makeup. It's my makeup room. And I'm like, I don't have a makeup room. Nobody gave me my own room with a big old vanity. But it was just happiness, because it was the gift of sobriety. I never expected my sister to come back to us or get sober, or, you know, she waited till the miracle happened. I mean, she's a miracle. They are a miracle. And we know the story, and their first half of their lives together was beautiful. Going to Blues Bender, and I'm like, when I went, I was drinking at the table. I was not enjoying that music.
You got married at the walk-up window.
I did. Hung over after punching Judy. I did the night before. Anywho, yeah, security came up. It wasn't good. But half of their life was he taught her so much, and she loved him so. I mean, he took her to the Blues Bender. She made him banana muffins every morning. You know, just. They had a life, and she appreciated her life, and he appreciated their life, and they had happiness at the end, until the very end. And the last thing that I've always thought, what a beautiful gift. I've never seen such a miracle as this particular gift. And don't wait till the miracle happens. And they've happened for me now. They don't cost anything. I get it now. I finally got it. But when I brought Johnny down after he lost his dad, my brother-in-law dad, great guy. And I'm so lucky, we are so lucky we had Richard in our family. Just fit right in. When he pulled up in that Prius and had that little cap and his suspenders, I'm like, oh, not exactly what I pictured, but it's the best thing ever. He was so fun. But anyway, I brought Johnny down, and you know, that was hard on him. He left his childhood home, and it was hard. And so I got to see how sick Richard had gotten this summer. And Judy was working on, she was counting some pills and things. She's going, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, she goes, okay, I've got to count it out. And then all of a sudden there's like, she's grinding things. She goes, this is, I have to give him his medicine through his tummy, right? So Richard's holding things and she's doing things, and pretty soon it came to this big ass syringe of fluids and medicine. And she goes, okay, ready? And Richard grabs this, and she goes, okay, 1, okay, good, done, throws it in the sink. She goes, ready? He holds this, she does this, okay, there's 2. And I'm like, what the hell? He throws it in the sink, next one, they're doing it together, and that was that, and it was like, it was fun. And I'm like, I wouldn't even be able to look at the tube, and she took, I mean, we may not all get this. We may not all get to stay home. He never had to leave his home, and he was very sick. And Judy was afraid sometimes, and she'd say, I don't know if I can, you know, and I'd say, you know what, God's going to decide, and Richard's going to know it when God decides too. I know that. And so stop worrying about, you know, if it gets to a point you can't, you're too afraid. And he always got his choice. Richard got to choose what he wanted to do during these different phases. And Judy, I just heard her say this morning, when he had his last coughing attack, it was kind of a pretty good one. And, you know, Judy thought we should call 911. You know, it's hard to get him in the car. So he said, and she said, what do you want to do, Richard? And he said, I want to go to bed, I want to sleep. And she said, okay, we'll call in the morning. And that's what they did. And he went to the hospital, and he was very sick, and that was the end of it. But that man never had to leave his home and got cared. But I don't know if nurses could be so kind and loving and make it fun. And I'm so grateful that my sister held up through that. And I'm so grateful that that man who has done so much for her got to feel, knowing he was sick and the fear he must have had, that he had a choice to be home the whole time. And I'm grateful to know him. I'm sad he's gone. He was around too short a time. But thank you all for being here, and thank you all for taking care of our family. It's pretty amazing what alcoholics can do. It's amazing. They're nicer than anybody, right?
Hey guys, we're going to look at trying to see if we can end all sharing around 4. I wanted to share something real quick. We always have a saying at some of the end of the meetings as far as Zoom and cartel. With the COVID-19 meeting as well. And this gentleman, I'm going to call him up here, these were actually the last words that were spoken out of Richard's mouth. And I'll let him announce it. Charles, come on up.
See you too.
Hello everybody, Charles Alcoholic, aka Miracle Milwaukee. And I'm grateful to be here today in celebration of the life of Richard. Richard, when I heard, one of the last words that he said, or even at the meeting, he barely was able to talk at that time, and I always had this saying, who has it better than us? Nobody. He couldn't wait, And it made me feel really good that I was, able to bring that phrase to the meeting and make it a tradition for us, not only in the cartel, but in the COVID-19 meeting. And I firmly believe it. Carrie just left. But oh no, not Niner fans right here, Niners. So they got that from Jim Harbaugh, but it's an AA thing, man. It's not anything else. That's an AA thing now. But with all the catchphrases, everybody says it's easier to stay stopped to get stopped. But for me, when I first came in, and I'm a Zoom baby, and I knew Richard when he was able and more well, it was God brought me to AA, and AA brought me to God. And if anybody knows my story, my journey, I'm a God guy, and this amazing program, this amazing way of life, these principles got me closer to that higher power. And that's all I got. Thank you, Judy, Justin, and Lionel. Jesus. Man. I've been celebrating you a lot behind the scenes, man, but for you not even to have a year and everything that you're doing for this AA community and for yourself and for all of us is amazing, bro. I see you. We see you. And with that, I'm going to give it to somebody else. I know we got cutting back on time, but I know he wants to speak very, very, very badly. Yeah. And he's mad. Kurt.
What's that?
Kurt alcoholic, and I'm angry. Hi, thank you. Thanks for having us all here, Judy. I met Richard on Zoom, and we did some things. I went to parties, at my house. You guys came over for Thanksgiving dinner, and we hung out at Power's house. We went to Hayward and hung out. We went to a ball game. I was one of the guys that got to go to the ball game with him. I asked if he wanted to. He was a man of few words, I'm like, hey, you want to come share my room with me? And he goes, no. He just turned around and walked away to his room, like, where are you going? And, he got a good sense of humor, but a little dry. There was this new girl in the program that I liked, and you always ask the guy who can't say nothing, there's no room to talk. So I was like, Richard, do you think it's a bad idea to ask this new girl out? No. He advocated for me, and I'm still with that new girl. Almost 3 years later. But a new. She had a year. She was also pregnant, had a baby, and she's allowed me to participate in raising this baby. This boy is 2.5 years old now, and I asked Richard. I was telling Richard I was a little intimidated. I was a little scared. I don't have any kid experience, but I always wanted to be a dad. He told me his story. He said, well, I raised a little boy once, and it turned out all right. He encouraged me to stick with it. And in few words, he said I did too, and that's a good, and it was a good thing. That's all he said. It's a good thing. I always used to try to say crazy shit to him on Zoom before the meeting started, and Charles and I were laughing about it. Because he would just, no. That's all he'd do. No. Bad idea. And you always got to rise out of that way. He always showed up, man. He was at all the events, and it's a loss for all of us, but when I look back, he lived his best life. He did everything he wanted to do. Everything he planned to do in his life, he did it. He enjoyed every bit of it, and all the way to the end, he did everything he could to accomplish all his goals. It's kind of
fortune is mine for the inheritance.
So sorry. I feel like I'm at that watching Big with Tom Hanks all over again.
Yeah.
But all of us who are his friend and Judy's friend, our lives are different because of our relationship with them. And it's an amazing thing. We can go on and pass on those little sayings that he has to other people. And I think the biggest thing that he reminds me of is simple is good. Simple is good. The book even says it. Most simple ideas are good. And I think that's what he lived by. So thanks for coming. Thanks for having me here. Andy.
Just real quick, guys. I've got a couple of replies on Zoom, so you guys can be heard. This is from Liz. She's from Titusville, Florida. She said, Dick Uhler is and was my brother from another. I just want to thank you, Judy and company, for loving my brother so well. And we got Mike W. on Zoom, who says, thank you, King Richard. You are a pillar in my recovery. You will forever be in my heart. It's easier to stay stopped than get stopped. Thanks, guys. Keep going.
I'm Andy. I'm an alcoholic.
Andy.
I think we probably should have wrapped it up before I got here because it was really good up to this point. But I'm one of the guys that met Richard on Zoom. I live in California. Came up for this. I knew quite a while ago that when Richard passed, there was just no way that I was going to miss showing my respect to Judy and to all of you, to the community that he had supported. And he had so given us the example. I'm really moved by actually the words of Tom and Jimmy, who talk about being caretakers and learning to be cared for. I've been trained in hospice. I've worked as a caretaker for my aunt, and I saw better examples of it through Judy and Richard than I've seen anywhere else. And so it was very moving to watch that on Zoom. I never told anybody that I was involved in this kind of it's not really work, it's a pastime. I've never been paid for it, but I've been involved, still am involved in it. So it was just great to see a good example also of the AA family. When we're in AA, we always hear the stories of the marvelous people that really support us, and actually Derek and I were talking about it earlier. There's people in this room that you'll never meet anywhere else. I mean, really unique, special, loving, kind people. I'm not talking about you, Donnie, but everybody else. I'll give you my one Richard story and then wrap up, because there's probably more qualified people really than me to speak. I have met Richard and Judy in person when I came up one time to see Kurt speak. Charles was there, etc. That's about the only time I saw you guys in person, but I obviously saw you online quite a bit. But early on in the COVID, my son's in Germany. He's a big Raiders fan. He's teaching the Germans how to belly bump. And the games came on at 11 o'clock at night, so they'd watch them through the evening. So the big group of Raiders fans, and there came a chance that he would move stateside, that his job would transfer him out this way, and I'm looking for ways to lure him in. I'm looking for hooks to get him back closer to me. It's all about me. And so I tell Richard, I said, man, he's a really big Raiders fan, and it seems to be kind of hard to get tickets. And his few words, he goes, he's got tickets. You let me know. I said, boom. I called my son, hey, dude, I've hooked it up, man. I'm so connected in the Raiders family. The people that know me, I don't know anything about football. I don't know anything about Raiders. But I know how to bullshit. And I know how to get my son back here. And he's been back for many games. Yes, he's been transferred out, and he's a regular at the Raiders games. Blah blah blah. As a matter of fact, I told him about that I was coming up for Richard's service, and my son said, "A Raider down? Oh, I'm bummed." He was serious. Of course, he's never met Richard. So that's really the end of my story. Is there anybody that needs to share? We got to get it. Let's go.
All right. I'm Jeff. I'm gonna call. Oh, I guess. Sorry, I've got a loud voice. I'm one of the Zoom babies as well. I had the fortune of meeting Richard several times. Judy, I've certainly talked to you online. I know we really haven't talked a whole lot. And let me first say that I've been with my now wife for 35 years, married, anniversary of 32 coming up. I know I talk about her all the time. She was planning on coming, she just wasn't feeling well. But the point of me bringing that up is I have put my foot in my mouth many, many, many times over those 35 years with her. So Judy, I apologize in advance for what I'm about to say. We are originally from the Bay Area. We did move here 24 years ago, but we are Niners fans. So well, you know what. But you know, the meetings just aren't the same. I call it the group of knuckleheads, along with a bunch of other things. You know, one of the things Charles didn't quite tell you is it could feel like church Sunday sometimes, and he starts getting going, and he starts and you're just like preaching to the choir, and I've started calling him Keith Sweat here recently. You know, he starts unbuttoning the shirt, and if you're old enough to get that reference, thank you. But you know, the best thing and he alluded to it just now, and Judy would have to help him near the end, and on Zoom you could always tell, and we'd always tell Richard, okay, Richard, we're going to be calling on you soon. Try to get unmuted, and we knew that Judy was helping him, and so sometimes it would be a little delayed, and so Charles would be doing his thing, and then whoever was then take over, and then all of a sudden you hear this quiet voice, nobody. And it's like, that's Richard. All right, I didn't want to have. So let's see. So time for me to put my foot in my mouth. So one time at Cartel, I was sitting next to Richard, and he was pretty unstable, so I was holding him up. But near the end of the meeting, I saw Lamont doing this through to the glass window, and Judy was standing out there outside in Jackpot, and I looked at Richard and I said, "Oh, Richard, is that your daughter?"
Thank you, Jeff.
But here's the best part. Richard kind of looked at me, and kind of winked and goes, Didn't really say anything. He just, he got the impression. He just kind of said.
Now, one of the big dumbasses in the room likes to call me Square Jeff. That's Willie. Oh, you were over here. Where are you? Where's your big dumbass? Anyway, so he calls me Square Jeff because I'm square as a pool table. Think about that. Let that process. He calls himself half retarded. He's got it full blown. And so the reason why I bring that up is there was one night I shared, and right as I was finishing, or we were doing something else, all of a sudden I hear this quiet voice, Square Jeff. And it was Richard. Okay, and the last thing I was going to suggest, and Judy, I don't know if you remember this, but we had a guy, sometimes on the Zoom meetings you get people coming in, you have no idea who these people are. Yeah, most of them are from here. But there was this one guy that was on there for a while from Utah, and he would say some wild shit. I mean, some crazy ass shit. And he had been sober for a while, and he comes in, and he was just like, oh, I'm so jacked, I got a new job, and I met this girl, and man, I am gonna bang her tonight, And he's just talking to me, he's gonna do all this stuff. The meeting ends, the after party, and all of a sudden, near the end, Richard's sitting there, and all of a sudden, Judy's head comes into this. Who the fuck was that? So with that, thanks.
Hi, I'm Kelly, an alcoholic. I'm here out of respect. My life only briefly sprinkled through Richard's and Judy's fleeting moment, and COVID happened, and issues in my family happened, but the few meetings I was at that Richard was at, and the few moments I was at your home, I felt the solution in the band, the peace and the calmness and the tranquility, and of course the blues. Judy, my deepest sympathy, our condolences, and that's from your other sisters that are here. We will forever truly be sisters in sobriety. I know I haven't been here in the last, God, it sounds like years now. It goes fast, so hug and love each other. That's all we have.
Thank you, Kelly.
My name is Gary. I'm a father of an alcoholic. Justin's my son. I met Rich and Judy on Justin's celebration of his 4th year. And I want to thank Judy and Richard, all of you, for what you have done for my son, because you've done it for me. I'm part of the family too. Thank you.
How this thing got all the way down here. All right, thank you everyone for attending this monumental day. Richard was very loved, and I'm so happy that you guys were all able to join us. Those on Zoom as well.
Can we do 2 more from the family?
We have 2 more shares from family, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
Sorry about that.
So hello, I'm David. I'm Richard's brother. And I don't think I know hardly any of you. But this is a testament to a great man. And I loved him. I knew him when he was a dick. And I so appreciate what AA did for him. He saved his life. And Judy, I'm so sorry, but you did a great job. He loved you and you loved him, so very good. His nephew is right here. He's got wonderful stories to tell about his uncle, my wife, 36 years. She knew Richard also when he was a dick. And so yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I'm Matthew. I'm Uncle Dick's nephew. He really was an amazing man. He brought me to my first Raiders game. You know, he would give me those looks that everybody talks about. He didn't have to say much. He didn't have to ever raise his voice to me. He never had to do anything like that. I got to spend a lot of quality time with him growing up, and his son, Donald, and he really was just so progressive with, you know, going from Uncle Dick to Richard. I would start calling him Uncle Richard, you know, because the facts was the older he got and the more enlightened he got with going to the meetings, you know, and he would say those terms. I mean, when I was 21 years old, I went through my own struggles, you know, psychosis, drugs, the whole thing, you know, and I was able to call him, and, you know, he would answer and he would tell me those same lines, and I would go to the Hayward Fellowship as a young kid, you know, and he would bring me around, and again, he didn't have to say much to people, you know. He passed down a lot of cool stuff to me, with being able to have knowledge that you just don't get if you're not raised in these rooms. You don't get, you know, certain things that they teach. I try to, you know, bring the spirit of Richard into my day-to-day life as well. You know, he's taught me a lot of things on how to be a respectful man. And Judy, yeah, you know, I'm so grateful you were part of his life. You know, I was telling her last time I saw him, I mean, most of these pictures up here, he's smiling, but I never saw him smile before. You kidding me? He was straight face, you know, and he got to have so much love with you, and it was just beautiful to watch, you know. So I appreciate everybody and everything that everybody's done for this, you know. Everybody online, I know some of the families on here, some of other people. There's going to be another service in the Bay Area. I don't have the exact dates, but I'm sure somebody does. But thank you guys.
All right, thanks again, everyone. Glenn Alcoholic. Thank you all for joining us today. And remember what Richard always said: it's easier to stay stopped than to get stopped. Let us close with a prayer from Judy. It was her favorite prayer. It is her favorite prayer, and it's Richard's prayer, the St. Francis prayer.
Okay, this is 11th step prayer, St. Francis prayer. Lord, make me a channel of thy peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love, that where there is injury, I may, okay, I gotta skip one. Where there is doubt, I may bring faith, that where there is, thank you, where there is reading glasses. Starting over, still Judy, still an alcoholic. Okay, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace, that where there is hatred, let me sow love, that where there is injury, pardon, that where there is doubt, faith, that where there is despair, hope, that where there is darkness, light, where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is by giving that we receive, it is by pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is by dying that one awakens to eternal life. Amen. Thank you, all of you, for joining us today, and remember what Richard always said. It's easier to stay stopped than it is to get stopped. Thank you, everybody.
Judy, I love you.
pictures. Whose glasses did I get?
Sarah.
Thank you.
Hi. Yeah, I've seen your pictures. I know your sisters, and I know Richard because of you. I know Judy.
Yeah, really amazing.
And then the Zoom, I heard there's. Oh, yeah, that That's a little more long spaces to talk.
Do you need to take some food home?
No.
John, help me carry out.
Wait. We're taking
Johnny, hold on. Okay, good program.
Yeah, look at you all meeting.
Okay, wait, you gotta show our raters. Yeah, my camera's still going. I hope it's going. Oops.
I took a bunch. So if anybody's like it.
Look, is this yours? Look, I recorded the whole. Thank you.
It's on the floor.
I gotta get my shit out of the way. Dorian. I gotta stop. I'm cooked.